A rainy Tuesday in April, the kind where the sky seems to weep for you. I was 43, standing in my Ohio kitchen, the smell of fresh laundry mixing with the damp air sneaking through the window. My life felt like a Hallmark card. Husband of 15 years, 2 kids, a drooling golden retriever named Max. Perfect, right? Until my phone lit up with a text that stopped my heart. Check your husband's jacket pocket. No name, no clue, just a dare I couldn't ignore. I dug into Tom's raincoat, my fingers trembling, and pulled out a note in my sister Lisa's handwriting. Tom, I can't keep doing this. It's wrong. Meet me tonight. Let's end it. In that moment, the rain wasn't just outside anymore. It was drowning me. My sister. My husband. My world, unraveling with one crumpled piece of paper. Trust was the foundation I'd built everything on. Tom wasn't a fireworks and roses kind of guy. He was the one who'd quietly fix the dishwasher or shovel the driveway after a snowstorm. We'd met back in college, me a nervous English major with a stack of Jane Austen novels, him a lanky engineering student who'd stammer when I asked him out first. 15 years later, we had Jake, 12, and Ellie, 9, a 2-story house with creaky floors and a porch swing, and Max, who'd once eaten half my favorite scarf. It wasn't a glossy magazine life, but it was warm, familiar, mine. Lisa was my other pillar. 2 years younger, she'd always been the free spirit to my planner, piercing her nose at 16, chasing art school dreams while I opted for sensible cardigans and a steady job at the town library. She'd been my shadow through every chapter. My wedding, where she'd pinned flowers in my hair. The miscarriage before Jake, where she'd sat with me in silence. Ellie's birth, where she'd smuggled chocolate into the hospital. When her marriage to Greg imploded 2 years ago, him running off with a coworker. I'd been her soft place to land, cooking her lasagna and promising she'd never face the world alone. That rainy Tuesday, I was folding Jake's soccer jerseys when the text came. I laughed at first. Some prank, surely. But something gnawed at me, a whisper I couldn't shake. I crossed the hall to the closet, Max trailing behind, his tail wagging like this was a game. Tom's gray raincoat hung there, still damp from his morning commute. I slipped my hand into the pocket, expecting lint or a receipt. Instead, I found the note. Lisa's loopy handwriting, unmistakable from years of birthday cards, stared back, each word a punch. I sank to the floor, Max nudging my arm, the paper trembling in my grip. How long? How deep? How had I not seen? I couldn't think straight. My hands shook as I dialed Lisa, the phone slipping against my ear. "Hey, Jen!" she chirped, her voice a knife of normalcy. "Lisa?" I said, barely audible. "What's this note in Tom's pocket?" Silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Then a sob broke through. "Oh God, Jen, how did you find it?" "Don't," I snapped, my voice rising. "Just tell me, now." She unraveled, her words a flood of guilt and excuses. "It started 6 months ago. After Greg left, I was a mess, lonely, lost. Tom was there, dropping off that old dresser you gave me. We talked, and it just happened. At first, it was coffee at that diner off Route 12, then dinners, then... God, Jen, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I tried to end it so many times. I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" I laughed, a jagged, ugly sound. "You slept with my husband, Lisa? You sat in my kitchen, ate my food, hugged my kids, all while... How could you?" I slammed the phone down, my chest heaving, tears burning my eyes. Tom was next. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice flat, like he'd rehearsed this. "Jen, what's going on?" "I found the note," I said, my words sharp. "Lisa's note. How long, Tom?" He sighed, a sound that chilled me. "It's over, Jen. I'll pack a bag and leave tonight." No fight, no remorse, just a quiet exit. By 8 p.m., his truck growled out of the driveway, red taillights swallowed by the rain. I stood at the window, arms crossed, as Jake and Ellie peeked from the stairs. "Where's Daddy going?" Ellie asked, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Work trip," I lied, my smile brittle. "He'll be back soon." I turned away, hiding the tears, wondering how I'd explain this to them, or myself. The weeks that followed were a slow bleed. Mornings started with an empty bed, the left side cold where Tom used to sprawl. I'd drag myself to the kitchen, brew coffee, and stare at the mug he'd always used. A chipped blue thing from a flea market. Memories of Lisa ambushed me. Her giggling over wine at Thanksgiving. Her painting a mural of stars on Ellie's ceiling. Her voice on the phone when I'd complain about Tom's late nights. Had those nights been with her? Had she smiled at me, knowing his hands had been on her? The town turned it into a soap opera. I'd push my cart through the grocery store, catching hissed whispers. "Poor Jen. Can you believe Lisa?" As I fumbled with canned soup. Sue, my neighbor with the perfect hydrangeas, showed up with a tuna casserole and a bottle of Merlot, her eyes blazing. "She's dead to us, Jen. You don't owe her a damn thing." My book club ladies, God love them, met over Pinot Grigio, plotting revenge, egging Lisa's car, mailing her a box of glitter that'd stick for weeks. I laughed, a hollow sound, tempted to say yes. The kids bore the brunt. Jake came home one afternoon, knuckles bruised, his jaw tight. "Tommy Wheeler called Aunt Lisa a slut," he muttered. "I hit him." I grounded him, but my heart swelled. He was fighting for me in his own messy way. Ellie stopped talking about her aunt, her crayons idle when I suggested drawing her a picture. "She doesn't like us anymore," she whispered once, and I didn't know how to fix that. I kept moving, shelving books at the library, stirring spaghetti, walking Max through the park, but it was autopilot. At night, I'd collapse, sobbing into Tom's old pillow, the scent of his aftershave fading. I'd replay every moment, searching for clues. The time Lisa borrowed his truck, the nights he'd worked late, the way she'd avoided my eyes at Easter. I hated them both, but I hated myself more for being so blind. Summer came, sticky and slow. I'd see Lisa's red hatchback at the gas station or her silhouette in the diner window, and I'd turn away, my stomach twisting. Friends pushed me to confront her. "Scream it out, Jen. You'll feel better." But I couldn't face her. Instead, I threw myself into distractions, repainting the living room a soft gray, signing Jake up for soccer camp, taking Ellie to pottery classes where she'd mold lumpy bowls I'd treasure. I even tried dating once, a disaster with a balding accountant who talked about tax codes all night. Nothing filled the hole. Then, Mom got sick. July brought the diagnosis: lung cancer, stage 4, a thief that stole her breath and our time. She'd been our family's glue, baking pies for no reason, refereeing our fights, telling us to quit fussing and hug it out. I'd drive to the hospice after work, the kids in tow, sitting by her bed as she faded. She'd grip my hand, her voice a rasp. "You're strong, Jenny." "Stronger than you know." I'd nod, choking back tears, wishing I believed her. Lisa stayed away. I assumed it was guilt or fear of my wrath. I didn't care. I had Jake and Ellie to shield, explaining why Grandma's hugs were weaker, why she couldn't read them stories anymore. We'd bring her drawings, Jake's jagged superheroes, Ellie's wobbly flowers, and she'd smile, her eyes dimming. She slipped away in September, a quiet exit that left us unmoored. The funeral was on a crisp October day, leaves crunching underfoot at the cemetery. I stood with the kids, my black dress too tight, my eyes dry from crying out my reserves. Sue flanked me, whispering condolences, while Jake held Ellie's hand, both in stiff church clothes. That's when I saw her. Lisa, hovering at the crowd's edge, her coat pulled tight around her frail frame. She looked like a ghost, her face pale, her hair dull. I clenched my fists, ready to ignore her, to let her fade into the background. But after the service, she approached, her steps shaky. "Jen," she whispered, pressing a folded paper into my hand. "Please, just read it." Her eyes were red, desperate. I nodded, too drained to argue, and tucked it into my purse. Later, alone in my car, I unfolded it. Tom's handwriting glared back. "Lisa, you're not the only one. Don't flatter yourself. Meet me tonight, or I tell Jen everything." Dated a week before I'd found her note. My breath hitched. I read it again, my mind spinning. He hadn't just betrayed me with Lisa. He'd been juggling others, playing us all like pieces on a board. I called her that night, my voice trembling. "What does this mean?" She wept through the phone. "He told me he loved me, Jen. Said you two were done, that I was special. I fell for it. God, I was so stupid. Then I found that note in his truck. It was for someone else, a woman named Carla, I think. He'd been lying to me too. I ended it, but I didn't know how to face you." I didn't sleep that night. Tom, the man I'd trusted with my life, had turned us into pawns in his twisted game. Lisa wasn't blameless. She'd chosen to cross that line, but she'd been snared too. I thought of her at the funeral, broken and small, a mirror to my own wreckage. I thought of Mom, her voice echoing. "Family's messy, but it's worth fighting for." A week later, I invited Lisa over. The kids were at a sleepover, and the house was still, just Max snoring by the fireplace. She sat on my couch, hands twisting in her lap, her eyes darting like she expected me to explode. I took a deep breath. "I hate what you did," I said, my voice steady. "It gutted me, Lisa, tore my whole world apart. But I hate him more. He played us both. And I miss you. God help me, I do. I don't know if we'll ever be what we were, but I forgive you." She burst into tears, reaching for me. I hugged her, feeling the weight of it all. The pain, the betrayal, the stubborn love that wouldn't die. We sat there, crying and laughing, picking through the debris. It wasn't a fairy tale fix, just a fragile, honest start. Tom's out there somewhere, probably spinning new lies, weaving new webs. Lisa and I are trying. Awkward coffee dates at the corner cafe, stilted chats about the kids or the weather. Jake's warming up, asking her about art again. Ellie's still cautious, watching from a distance. Me? I'm figuring it out, one day at a time. Forgiveness feels like a shaky bridge. Will it hold us through the storms, or collapse under the weight of what's past? I don't know yet. What do you think? Could you forgive her? Would you even try? Or would you let it all burn to ash? Tell me. I'm listening.